So, Robert Craig Ehlert, right? Missing and disappearance, right? What did Robert? I'm in question of that. Did Robert buy a pickaxe? Ooh, that's ooh. A pickaxe, a sledgehammer, and a carpenter's axe. Did he buy those items before disappearance? A pickaxe, sledgehammer, and carpenter's axe, along with spray paint. But I had to mention those, right? The pickaxe, right? Could someone else say have purchased those items, right? The receipts. Law enforcement searches things and all the rest and find the notes and all the rest. That pickaxe, right? Like, subscribe, ID in the Discovery Channel. Yes, ID in the Discovery Channel. The links are provided below. Get that Discovery Go app as well as the ID Go app. You might want to get those two things combined and make them into one. And I'm a Discovery influencer. That's indeed a fact. So June 2013, right? Robert went missing in Panama, right? Robert disappeared before a trip, which was to include him sailing around the world on his yacht. Never made it, right? Robert lived in Panama before disappearance, and he hasn't been seen or heard from since. Also before disappearance, a note. When I mentioned that, a note was found, right? A note. The finding of a note, right? Left behind. A note, right? Mentioned that in the opening. A note left behind explaining Robert would be gone for 2 weeks with a friend named Diane, right? The friend Diane. Who was Diane? Questions of that. Because I questioned the receipt pertaining to that pickaxe and sledgehammer. I questioned that in relation to him, say, supposed to be gone for 2 weeks with a friend named Diane. Who was Diane, right? His boat was docked at Shelter Bay Marina. Shelter Bay Marina, boat docked and all the rest, never made it on your trip. And there's sledgehammers and all the rest involved in the story, right? Going somewhere for 2 weeks, never making notes and all the rest. Email and all the rest. Supposed to go somewhere. Of someone or something. Something go wrong. There was a killing that took place. 2013. Remember, it's 2022. He's still missing, right? Family of Roberts, right? Since the note. When you sense something, right? Intuition, right? It sense. The note written and left behind was not the handwriting of Roberts when I mentioned that note, right? Family sensed that, right? Intuition goes off the alert, right? His car was missing and hasn't been recovered. There's a note left behind and yet your family. No, that we feel that couldn't have been his handwriting. That was more than likely written by somebody else. That's where that pickaxe. Hold on. Sledgehammer, pickaxe. There has been no activity on his bank account and nothing's been stolen from his condo, right? It's questionable if kidnap, violence, and murder played a part in Robert's disappearance. Violence. Law enforcement questions. And has, right? Violence. Kidnap. Because of no 2013 and it's 2022, right? Hold on. Violence and kidnap. That's where the rest should start to ask once again. The axe, right? Did he use those tools for something? What Robert's hobbies? When there's purchase and there's a receipt found and all the rest, law enforcement find things and note and all the rest, right? When there's a receipt found and there's mention of a sledgehammer, spray paint, pickaxe, carpenter's axe, right? You would have to question Robert's activities. Were they used for his boat or boats or something like that? Did he do hobbies that or activities which involve wooded area, cutting down? Because that's what those type of tools are used for. Carpenter's axe, pickaxe, what else? Sledgehammer, and then spray paint. Usually spray paint. What could that have been for, right? Spray paints. Usually you use spray paint to mark things, right? I question, did he purchase those things and were they for his boat, the cutting, like ropes? How boats have ropes and stuff like that. And yacht, how big was the yacht that he owned and all the rest? Could there have been, say, the axe for that, the cutting? Tie a rope and then cut. if he would have tied it to something and say how you get stuck, how you have ropes on boats and all the rest, and you tie, or however a yacht is put together and all that, right? When you stop somewhere and you tie something to something, even big boats, even yachts, and then there's a cutting process. How do they do that? People who have boats and stuff like that, right? Each boat is made different. Some boats are big, yachts are usually huge, depending on, the individual. You buy a yacht that suits you or fits you, right? The cutting process and that. Would it take a pickaxe? Would it take a carpenter's axe? Would it take a sledgehammer? That's where the questions of murder come in, right? Those tools. If he purchased those tools, what did he use those tools for? No, he didn't. He probably didn't use them, but if he would have used them, if he purchased them, what would be the point of those in the spray paint, right? Usually you use spray paints to mark things, right? I was going to ask, could he have used a spray paint for his boat? You know, the question, all that, right? Since 2008, there has been problems, including violence against tourists and foreigners in Panama, right? And the problem has grown worse, right? Such as deaths stemming from crimes like robberies and all the rest, right? There have been numerous bodies found in Panama, which leads to the questions of Robert's disappearance. It just does, right? Once there's too many individuals going missing in Panama, right, that's where law enforcement question more, right, pertaining to Robert, right? An example of somebody going missing: March 2013, body of 68-year-old Ed Moynihan, right? That's how I pronounce it, right? Moynihan. Sounds more Asian or something, right? He was found in a park near Panama, right? His body, right? He was a businessman from Canada who lived in the small seaside village. There has been, once again, numerous human remains and bodies found in Panama, right? As the area of Panama becomes more and more dangerous for tourists, and has since 2008. Once there's an environment where there's issues with law and stuff like that, Panama, right, where people are just being found dead and all the rest, what's going on in the area, right? In 2014, Robert was declared dead by the U.S. government. So he goes missing in 2013, or June 2013, right? And then he's declared dead the following year by the U.S. government. So they more like sense and feels, knows, right, that Robert more likely was killed, kidnapped, killed, murdered, all the rest, right? So questions linger over the receipt in which I mentioned, right? The receipt showed Robert bought the spray paint, a pickaxe, a sledgehammer, and carpenter's axe before disappearance. Did those items be used in his murder? Is that why the U.S. government declared him dead the following year after he went missing? Those items, pickaxe, sledgehammer, carpenter's axe, right? Yeah. The handwriting, it goes back to the question of the receipt, which purchased those items, which individual, that's where it's in question, right? U.S. government declare you dead, right? Following year after. So who bought those items, a pickaxe, carpenter's axe, sledgehammer, right, spray paint? Who bought those items, and how does it relate to the handwriting as a note left behind, where the questions are asked, right, pertaining to kidnap of Robert Craig Ehlert, right? Handwriting, right, note left behind, handwriting where family feels that it wasn't Robert's handwriting, right, left behind on the note, as well as a receipt of those items. So it sounds like deadly items. Carpenter's axe. Hold on, wait a minute. How big is a carpenter's axe? Right? Sledgehammer. What are the items used to be cut into, right? Because whoever bought those items could have written the note. If, say, Robert, if the items weren't purchased by him and the items weren't used for his activities, and someone could have purchased those items, and that same person could have written that note that was left behind. Might not have been his handwriting as law enforcement and family sense, right? That same person, whoever purchased those items I mentioned, if he didn't purchase those items, a sledgehammer, right? That same individual could have written that note and left it behind saying he was going away for 2 weeks on a trip. I mean, yeah, usually it takes longer than 2 weeks. What was the trips? Because usually people like that travel when they have boats and stuff like that. Because, see, that's where it's, yeah, hold on, sketchy, hold on. Because if you go on a trip and you're going to travel the world, right, you're going to be gone for 2 weeks with a friend named Diane, right? And that was supposed to supposedly involve on a yacht to travel the world. Usually takes longer than 2 weeks. That usually takes months. Maybe that's why the U.S. government and all the rest, when him being declared dead, right? Usually, okay, because it was mentioned around the world, right? Robert was to sail around the world on his yacht. That takes longer than 2 weeks. Unless there was supposed to be multiple trips or something like that. Unless he was going to be gone with somebody for 2 weeks and then he was going to go on a yacht. But to have a note left behind is to explain that he was going to go on a yacht. Usually the travel on a yacht around the world takes longer than 2 weeks. That usually takes months. They even have sports for that, where you can travel around the world on a boat or a yacht. It takes months, not 2 weeks. So it sounds like a setup or something. Maybe that's why he was declared dead once again the following year in 2014. No, when you go travel, if you're going to, that's common sense. If you're going to travel on a yacht and you're going to travel the world and all the rest, it takes longer than 2 weeks. It would take months. Who was Diane? Maybe it was somebody else, involved. Was there dating involved on his end, right? They might have said Diane. It could have been a male or something like that. It might have been a woman. Who knows, right? Could have been Diane. Who knows, right? But yeah, that's strange in itself because yeah, the yacht. I'm going to travel the world for 2 weeks. Oh what? Nobody travels the world on a yacht for 2 weeks. For how long it take? Wait a minute. Setup. We're on investigation discovery .com. The ID logo stands at the far left corner. Nobody travels the world on a yacht for 2 weeks. Wait a minute, hold on, let me go back. You don't travel the world on a yacht for 2 weeks. That's more likely murder or something. Yeah, that's common sense. Maybe whoever that's where the handwriting comes in. I'm going back. Hold on. That's where the handwriting comes in of that note that was found. Nobody travels on a yacht. Nobody travels the world on a yacht for 2 weeks. You know how big the world is? We'll be gone for 2 weeks. Somebody else more likely wrote the note. Where the family questioned the handwriting. No, more likely Robert, that's what his family said. No, more likely Robert didn't write that note, the handwriting on the note. Who said I'm going to be on a yacht for 2 weeks all across the world? For how long it takes on a yacht to travel the world? Probably a year. Oh, okay. Once again, we're on investigation discovery. The ID logo stands in the far left corner. Who wrote that note? Hold on, because we got sports. Let me go back to that. People be involved in sports where you can travel on boats and yachts and all the rest, and they be out for like 6 months. Some of them be out for a year and all the rest, traveling the world. When you say world, there's distance in that. The one travel the world. I'm going to travel the world. Nobody comes back after 2 weeks after traveling the world. No. More likely some kidnapper or something went down on the end of Robert or something like that with that note. Mm-mm. They should have, if it was trying to whoever kidnapped him or whatever, right? They should have mentioned longer than 2 weeks. Hold on, wait a minute. 2 weeks. Because to ever travel the world, as I said, well, how far did they get? Wait a minute, hold on. To ever travel the world, as I said, how far did they get? He didn't go on the trip. 2 weeks. You can't get nowhere on no yacht all across the world in 2 weeks. Guess I outed that one. Let me go back real quick. That's what that declaring did stood for. By the U.S. government. So, dear viewers, let me know what you think and feel about the video. May you enjoy your day. I, in fact, enjoy mine. And Robert being declared dead, if he is, may rest in peace. Okay.